Investment advisory services are offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. This is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the individual speakers and not necessarily those of Foundations and its affiliates. The information contained herein does not constitute an offer to sell any securities or represent an express or implied opinion or endorsement of any specific opportunity, offering, or issuer. Any discussion of performance or returns is not indicative of future results. Any mentions of rates and guarantees provided by insurance products and annuities are subject to the financial strength of the issuing company, not guaranteed by any bank or the FDIC. Each individual investor situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Foundations only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded or exempted from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean that the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. A Roth conversion may not be suitable for your situation. The primary goal in converting retirement assets into a Roth IRA is to reduce the future tax liability on the distributions you take in retirement or on the distributions of your beneficiaries. The information provided is to help you determine whether or not a Roth IRA conversion may be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Please review your retirement savings, tax, and legacy planning strategies with your legal or tax advisor to be sure a Roth IRA conversion fits into your planning strategies. No legal or tax advice is provided. Always consult with a tax professional. All rights reserved.
We're going to dig into some tips to help you get to retirement. Some are new and some have been around a long time. In both cases, the information is rock solid and could make a positive difference in your retirement.
And now, how to retire with Fuchs Financial.
The main thing for the majority of the listeners out there who are approaching retirement is I don't want to be surprised.
Helping you build, preserve, and manage your wealth.
You got Roth IRAs, you got individual accounts, and finding the right taxable strategy, that's going to be huge for you.
Welcome to How to Retire with Ben Fuchs.
We want to make sure your retirement rocks. We'll be talking about that throughout the show today. I'm Gary Nolan, your consumer advocate. With me is Ben Fuchs. Ben is here to help you take charge of your money. Ben is a certified financial planner, certified private wealth advisor professional, and fiduciary with over 20 years experience in the business. Of course, he's with Fuchs Financial. I want to give you the phone number right here at the top of the show to remind you to get the How to Retire Blueprint. It's a comprehensive plan just for you. There's no cost or no obligation. 800-380-8985. All right, let's say hi to Ben. Ben, how you doing today?
Doing all right, Gary. Now, look, I am excited to get into all the things retirement related, but I have had a few complaints come to me, and so I need to address those. One.
What did I do?
Let me admit, no, it's not your fault. I mean, this time, not your fault.
This time, yeah, okay.
I actually have to take the blame here. So I was on vacation last week. I ran a rerun. I am sorry, but let me just say, go UConn. Gary does not live in Connecticut. He doesn't understand the importance, the appreciation for all that is UConn athletics.
Yes.
So just want to give a big thank you to all the UConn men that absolutely crushed it. And once again, go UConn. Now we can get into all that other stuff you want to talk about.
However, I did live in Connecticut many years ago in a little town. It was outside of stores. It was somewhere between Hartford and Worcester, because I worked in Worcester, but I can't remember the name of the little town, but it was outside of stores. So I was there, right there in the throng with
Mansfield?
everybody.
No, okay.
Something like that. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Okay. Yeah, I could just guess a whole bunch of towns, or we could go on with the show. Whatever you prefer.
Well, no, I prefer we do the show.
Okay. All right.
Because that might be a little more interesting, we hope.
Doubtful.
Well, yeah. All right, so we're going to dig into some tips to help you get into your retirement, like Ben said. First tip are the changes in retirement planning thanks to Secure Act and Secure 2.0. Let's start the first one. Roth accounts in defined contribution plans. Let's get started on that, Ben.
All right, so check if your employer's defined contribution savings plan offers Roth accounts functioning as emergency savings accounts. So contributors can annually deposit up to $2,500 and make 4 tax-free withdrawals per year. Employers may also match contributions. So this is, again, a new thing that you have the ability to deposit, again, up to $2,500 a year and use those for emergency savings accounts.
All right, that's the first one. How about the next one? Retirement savings and student loan payments. This is new from Secure 2.0, isn't it, Ben?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So employees making payments towards student loans can now receive matching contributions from employers into their retirement plans. This helps from reducing education debt while maintaining retirement savings. Again, it's another option. It's another perk that you can get from your employer. If you feel like you're not getting everything and they don't want to give you a raise, well, here's a little negotiating that you can use in your job conversations.
What's a raise? I don't think I've ever gotten one of those.
Oh, stop it. I don't believe that for a minute. Right. You don't know this, but Gary is currently in the back of his limousine projecting the radio.
Yeah. In your dreams, my friend, in your dreams. The show is How to Retire with Ben Fuchs. I'm Gary Nolan, your consumer advocate. Let's get you that phone number, get you How to Retire Blueprint. Ben will talk about how important that is throughout the show here today. 800-380-8985. 800-380-8985. All right, Roth 401k and required minimum distributions. There's some changes there too, Ben.
Yeah, so workplace Roth account holders were previously required to start taking RMDs by age 72. With the new changes, individuals can leave money in Roth 401k accounts until they choose to withdraw. So for whatever reason, a Roth IRA was treated different from a Roth 401k. And the Roth IRA, you don't have to take required minimum distributions. In the Roth 401k, until they recently changed the rule, you still had to take your RMDs. So that would mean that financial advisors like me would say, hey, it doesn't make sense to leave it in your employer's account, move it into your own individual retirement account. Now, there are different reasons why it might make sense to move it or leave it, but no longer part of the equation. So that's a good thing. No reason why that rule wasn't already in place.
Yeah, absolutely. Special catch-up contributions, age 60 to 63. What is this about? I am not familiar with this one.
Yeah, so starting in 2025, so next year, workers aged 60 to 63 can make a special catch-up contribution. This contribution is the greater of $10,000 or 150% of the standard catch-up limit for that year. So what they're saying is, if the catch-up limit is $6,000, you can put in $9,000. But they want to allow it to adjust and grow with inflation without having to change the law every year. So that's why they put in that 150%. So the limit will subsequently adjust annually for inflation because of that rule.
You think some of these changes were put into place because we read that Americans are woefully behind on their retirement money savings? Anything to do with that?
I mean, it could be a little something to do with it. It could be all those statistics that we see about the high percentage of people that are living on nothing but Social Security. I mean, there are a lot of concerns. And, sometimes it's tough because I'll have people come into a first appointment with me or with my other advisors, and they'll say, hey, my goal, I want to retire in 5 years. Here's what I'm spending. I want to maintain that. And we say, look, you can do that for a number of years, but then you will run out of money. And here are the numbers to back that up. Here's the scenario. And they say, well, what happens if I work an extra year? Oh, good question. We'll show you that scenario.
Sure.
Well, what happens if I spend a little bit less? Great question. Let's take a look at that. We'll show you these scenarios. So one of the things that we try to help people do is understand what the different decisions, the tough decisions that you have to make as you approach retirement, how they affect you into having a strong and comfortable, lifestyle when you're no longer working.
Yeah, part of Ben's fiduciary responsibilities is to be completely honest and transparent as an independent advisor. And, he's not going to just tell you what you want to hear. Sometimes it's great news. Yeah, you can retire. You get the numbers look great. It's all good. Or sometimes, no, maybe you need to work another year or two. So it happens. And, that's just the way it goes sometimes. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think about it like a doctor, right? I mean, I don't expect the doctor to go in and always tell me good news. I need the doctor to tell me what I need to hear so that I can get healthier. Yeah. That is our job, right? Yes. We look at your plan and say, how can we make this healthier? How can we make this more robust? How can we have this last longer? Yeah. And so that's the focus. And, look, the bottom line is if I just tell you, hey, you can retire, no problem, then you run out of money in 2 years, there's only one person you're going to blame. I'm not taking that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't go to the doctor anymore. I'm afraid they'll find something. No, that's terrible. Don't do that.
Sounds like
please.
A great decision. Yeah, we do not endorse that here at Fuchs Financial. But everybody's entitled to their own decisions. Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I don't do that. Just joking him. All right, the show is How to Retire with Ben Fuchs. Ben is with Fuchs Financial, of course. Let's get you the phone number, get you all set up with the How to Retire Blueprint. It is 800-380-8985, 800-380-8985. Folks at Fuchs Financial are standing by. I'm Gary Nolan, your consumer advocate. Let's roll through some of these now. Now I'm going to shift gears a little bit to a few tried and true tips. We hear about this all the time, but it's worth mentioning again, Ben. Delay taking Social Security if you can, right?
Yeah, if you can. So delaying Social Security claim past age 62 increases your monthly benefit. Every year that you wait, that amount goes up. So it makes sense to consider waiting until full retirement age or beyond in specific scenarios. So again, this is one of those things that we have to handle because it's not just about the monthly income that you're able to get from Social Security. It's also about the amount that you'll be taxed on that Social Security and how much you'll actually receive from it. If you're 62 and you're making $100,000 a year, it makes no sense for you to begin taking Social Security. You're not even going to receive hardly any of that money because of the way that the restrictions work before your full retirement age. And so there are different scenarios where it makes sense to take it early, to wait to take it. I've had a lot of scenarios in the past, but one of the things that we'll do when you come in for an appointment is go through your income scenario and then go through a different tax scenario and see the implication of waiting to take Social Security and having that be a bigger portion of your retirement income. That can make a huge difference in how much money you keep for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and you got to be really careful because if you take Social Security while you're working full time, the threshold is very low. It's like $22,000. After that, you got to start paying for every $2. You give one back to Uncle Sam, something like that. Now it's
and then there's
$3
there's another threshold, or you go up even higher. You give more back. So yeah, sure.
Yeah, not good. Not a good plan. All right. Understanding the sequence of returns risk. What do we mean by that?
So sequence of returns risk is basically saying, what happens if you have negative returns for 2, 3, 4 years, the first couple of years that you're in retirement, right? So we saw that in 2000, 2001, 2002, where we had 3 straight years of S&P 500 declines. I think 2000 was about 10%, 2001 about 13%, and 2002 about 23%. So significant double-digit declines. The people that have retired in 1999, a lot of them ended up having to go back to work because of that risk. And so, of course, our job is to say, look, we understand that the market can go down and that it can go down for multiple years at a time. It's our job to protect you from that and to make sure that even when that happens, you're still able to maintain your lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So understanding retiring during a bear market can deplete your retirement funds. Avoid retiring during market slumps. But again, when you work with us, it's not going to matter. Yes, maybe your gains won't be quite as high, but you'll still be able to maintain the lifestyle that you have as long as we've okayed that plan.
All right. So, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I would say, that's what we're here for, right? Ultimately, we talk about a how to retire blueprint. It's not a book that we mail you. It's an appointment. You come in, you meet with one of our advisors. It doesn't cost anything to go through that. But within that appointment, we can collect information. We try to do as much fact-finding as we can. If you're curious about taxes, bring in your tax return. If you want to know if your investments are appropriate, bring in your statements. Let us see the underlying fees that you're paying to your current advisor. Let us see the underlying fees in the actual funds that you have themselves. Let us look and see what kind of risk that you're presently taking. Let's help you evaluate what you have so that if you do retire during a bear market, it won't affect you. At the same time, and we've talked about this before, everything should not be safe. The people that are telling you that everything should be completely and totally safe are more likely to hurt you in the long run than they are to help you. So our job is to find the right balance, and that's why we offer that How to Retire Blueprint. So even if you just need a second opinion, or you need to figure out when to take Social Security, and you want to understand how you can minimize your taxes, that's what we're here to help you figure out and put a plan together for you.
800-380-8985. 800-380-8985. Do it right now while you're thinking about it. You deserve a more confident plan to retire. So one more time on the number before we go to break. 800-380-8985. Get the How to Retire Blueprint. All right, take a short break. We'll be back more of Ben and How to Retire in just a moment. What's up next, sir?
In many older couples, one spouse typically manages the family finances while the other isn't as involved. If the spouse in charge of finances passes away or becomes unable to manage them, the surviving spouse often finds themselves in financial disarray. We'll outline some ways to avoid this scenario.
He's letting the clock run out on his Social Security to age 70 for maximum benefits. And here comes the Roth conversion. He's locked in for income for life. He's got some outstanding coaching with that annuity plan. He's created his own pension as well, and it looks like he's going to go all the way.
Play your best retirement game. Call Ben Fuchs at Fuchs Financial, 800-380-8985, 800-380-8985.
Welcome back to the show. This is How to Retire with Ben Fuchs. I'm your consumer advocate, Gary Nolan. Ben is here to help you take charge of your money. Ben is a certified financial planner, certified private wealth advisor, professional, and fiduciary with over 20 years' experience in the business. And, of course, he's with Fuchs Financial. Each week on the show, we talk about things that are really important to retirees or pre-retirees, whether it's wealth management, income planning, investment planning, asset management, Social Security advice, and so much more. All right, so let's dig into our second segment today. Financial advisors stress the importance of couples openly sharing financial responsibilities and information. However, achieving this level of transparency may necessitate effort and honest communication. So, do we talk about money? Enough about money. My wife and I talk about money all the time and lack thereof.
Don't let them fool you. He's wearing 5 gold rings right now.
Yeah.
Diamonds bigger than my pinky. It's impressive. People. Mm-hmm. Do we talk enough about money? So in a marriage, and I see this all the time, one spouse often oversees the checkbook, the day-to-day operation of the house. The other may focus on investing 401ks or IRAs and life insurance and other long-term financial goals. So that's fine until it isn't. So what can we do? A couple can start by talking about shared financial goals. For example, travel, gifting money to family, charitable giving, etc. Now, keep in mind, I don't want this to cause any divorces. You want to travel, I don't want to travel. Our interests have separated. I'll see you later. That's not the goal, but let's make sure that you're moving in the right direction together. Once the plan is established, it's important to discuss it with your spouse and advisor, and then make sure any changes are taken into account. You may find you want to travel more sooner than later, and adjustments must be made. I can't stress enough how much I recommend not waiting until retirement to do stuff. I have story after story after story of people that waited and then couldn't, of vacations that were planned and then never went on. So when you talk with an advisor, certainly a member of our team, our goals are going to be very straightforward. We want for you to be able to do the things that you want to do. We just want to help you do them responsibly so it does not hurt you in the long term. And if it does, that is still your decision to make. It is your money. But we want to help you find the peace of mind to be able to do that. And more often than not, we're not telling you don't do that. We're saying do it now and enjoy it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ben told me do not buy the Lamborghini. He did give me advice there, right? You know?
Yeah, I tell him not to buy it, just to buy it and send it to me. No, gift it is what I said. I said, give me your... No, it's totally different.
I'll get right on that. But seriously, we joke around a lot sometimes on the show here, but it's really important that you get together with your spouse, significant other, and make sure you're on the same page, because that can really affect your retirement. Our next topic is, let me remind everybody before we move on. The show is How to Retire with Ben Fuchs. I'm Gary Nolan, your consumer advocate. Here's that phone number. Get the How to Retire blueprint. Comprehensive plan, complete plan, just for you. Individual plan. 800-380-8985. 800-380-8985. Throughout the show, Ben is going to tell you the importance of getting the How to Retire blueprint. Let's get on to the next topic. Is our risk tolerance the same or very similar? I'm sure you run into that quite a bit too.
All the time, yeah. So divergent levels of investment risk tolerance between spouses. So basically, spouse A loves to be in the market, wants to buy a whole bunch of Bitcoin, has almost all of their money in one stock. And then spouse B saying, I like more of the stable value fund. I want to make sure that my money is there when I look at it, once a month. That's what's important to me. And so that's common, and we work with that a lot. So no spouse should feel pressured to assume more or less risk than they're comfortable with simply to align with their partner's preferences. That's not the goal. One potential solution is to allocate sufficient assets into a conservative portfolio to cover income requirements. The remainder can then be allocated to higher growth, riskier investments, etc. So when we're creating a plan, we have our 3 separate, distinct buckets. Nothing crazy. Mm-hmm. We have a safe bucket where when the market crashes, we know where to pull from. We have an income, think monthly paycheck producing bucket, where even if the market goes down 10, 15, 20%, we can still generate interest on a monthly basis. And then we have our long-term growth bucket, think stock market. Now we have those 3 distinct buckets. very important because we know the market can crash at any time. We talked about sequence of returns in the last segment, meaning what happens if we have negative market returns.
Yeah.
We still need to be able to generate interest, but not have to rely on the market when it inevitably drops. So having those three distinct buckets are very important and allow us to be able to take an appropriate amount of risk for each client and make sure that they have peace of mind for when the market eventually does crash.
All right, so you're sitting with a client for the first time and you're going over some things, Ben. How do you determine, is there a questionnaire? How do you determine a risk tolerance? And would you give this test separately to each person, wife and the husband?
I mean, there's a reality, Gary, that at this point, I know you see the gray in my beard, but they can't see that at home. I've been doing this so long that I honestly can ask somebody a question or two and just say, how do you feel about the stock market?
I got you.
And from there, I can give more qualifying questions, right?
I got you.
Look, market dropped. It goes down. This $1 million turned into $780,000. It went down by 22%. How are you feeling? Oh, like I've seen it happen before. I'm not worried about it under the market. Or, Ben, I'm freaking out. I'm like a cat going into water. I've got my claws out. I'm terrified. My heart is beating 1,000,000 miles. Okay, all right, great. So that's basically the conversation. We have that. I understand where you are, and then from there, then we can make an appropriate plan. For me, it's important to take the people that don't want to take any risk and let them see how important it is to have some long-term risk, to be comfortable with that, because it doesn't matter if I know what's right. Let's just assume that in this scenario I do. If they're uncomfortable and they're going to have heart palpitations, I'm not going to force anybody to do anything they don't want with their money.
Sure,
it is, again, their money.
Right.
But I can see the need for it. On the same side, or the other side of the coin, that person that wants to take a lot of risk, that wants to have everything in the market and kind of go all in and go all out all the time, again, we've got a concern, right? What if the market drops and you've got everything there, all of a sudden you can't retire or you have to go back to work? We don't want you to be in that position either.
Right. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Great advice, Ben. The show is How to Retire with Ben Fuchs. I'm Gary Nolan, your consumer advocate. Get the How to Retire blueprint. Here's that phone number, 800-380-8985. 800-380-8985. Folks at Fuchs Financial are standing by. Get on the calendar. Claim your spot on the calendar. No cost or no obligation. So what are you waiting for? Do it right now while you're thinking about it. All right, moving along. What's the backup plan if the financial steward dies first or develops dementia? This is some serious stuff here, Ben.
It is. And, it's not like we bring it up because it doesn't happen. This is something that, we have to deal with constantly. And, as people are living longer, dementia seems to be affecting more and more people. And, look, we're not going to make it out of this world alive. So we know that someone's going to die first. So the backup plan, if the financial steward dies or develops dementia, this can be tricky. One thought is to enlist a grown child to help should that happen. Now, this is a backup plan. This is not the primary plan. It may not be the best idea because it can cause rifts between siblings, or maybe you don't really trust your child with your money. I've seen that happen quite a bit. My father has told me on multiple occasions, if something happens to your mother, I need somebody else to handle money. I said, that's great. You can call Leo, my older brother. You can have somebody that can, try to shift the buck. Anyway, I know somebody else that you can call. It's not that anyway, moving on.
Okay.
Yeah, so we want to also make sure that your children know your plans and how they fit into them. Have them meet with your advisor so when the time comes, it won't be awkward. There are many times when we've set up accounts the first time and I've met with a grown child. Sometimes there's a language barrier. Sometimes they want the child to understand what's going on. They want them to be comfortable and to also have an open line of communication. That is important, but it's not necessary. A lot of people don't want their children to know anything about their finances. That's your prerogative. It's just one of those things that you should consider as time moves on. And then you also want to develop a good advisory relationships. Both spouses should be involved in choosing and working with that professional. I remember I have a client who, before they became clients, the wife was in the meeting and she was a little bored. It's really not her cup of tea. And she said, Ben, do I have to come back to the next meeting? And I looked at her and I said, do you want to retire? And she said, yes. I said, then you got to come back. And now that she is retired, she makes it a point of reminding her husband that she doesn't have to come and that Ben said it was okay because now they're retired. But the important thing for me was that when they established the relationship, they were both there together. Doesn't matter if she's not handling, but moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely, Ben. Just a couple of minutes left. Why don't we just wrap up this segment? Tell us more about the How to Retire Blueprint and why folks should have it.
So How to Retire Blueprint is really designed to be an all-encompassing part of your financial plan. We don't want you to have to go one place for your investments, another place for your income, another place for your taxes, to have somebody else and kind of completely be out in the open on what you should do with your estate planning. That's something that we all try to do in-house as much as humanly possible. So we manage the investments. We help you decide when to take Social Security. We want you to know the impact of each decision you make. Should you sell the stock that you've held for a long time? What is the implication of that? How do you pass money on to the next generation? All these things that are incredibly important for you. We want to help you figure those things out. But that's part of the How to Retire Blueprint. And some people just need a second opinion on what they have. You've been with the same advisor for 15, 20 years. Maybe you feel like they focus on growth, but they don't really focus on generating income or retirement, or maybe it's a different type of advice that you're looking for at this time. Either way, that's what we're here for. So when you come in to meet with us, you get a no-call second opinion. We have offices in West Hartford, in Middletown, and Middlebury, and we do a lot of appointments by Zoom because we have clients that started in town and then moved away. So it doesn't matter where you are. If you'd like to have an appointment, we're happy to meet with you.
We started the show today talking about make sure your retirement rocks, and we want you to have a successful retirement. All starts by getting the How to Retire Blueprint. Call right now. We still have a limited number of availabilities on our calendar. Claim your spot on the calendar, and remember, the consultation is offered at no cost or no obligation. Here's that phone number. Folks at Fuchs Financial are standing by. 800-380-8985. 800-380-8985. Call right now while you're thinking about it. Get on the calendar. Get yourself all set up with a How to Retire Blueprint. All right, take a short break. Be back with more of Ben and How to Retire in just a moment. What's up next?
You know you're saving for retirement, but do you really know what's going on behind the scenes with your money? Are financial termites eating away your hard-earned savings? When we come back, we'll outline several strategies that can help stretch those retirement dollars.
We believe in better. A better way to invest. A better way to serve you. And a better result. We can help you determine how much risk you're taking. Red flags that could be potential problems for you. How much you are paying in fees or commissions. Potential tax liability, or even how to address Social Security. Call Ben Fuchs at Fuchs Financial, proudly serving all of Connecticut. Call today, 800-380-8985. 800-380-8985.
Welcome back to the show. This is How to Retire with Ben Fuchs. I'm your consumer advocate, Gary Nolan. Here to help you take charge of your money is Ben Fuchs. Ben is a certified financial planner, certified private wealth advisor professional, and fiduciary with over 20 years experience in the business. Get the How to Retire Blueprint. If you missed the end of the last segment, I want to give that phone number out to everybody, 800-380-8985. And Ben will be talking more about the How to Retire Blueprint at the end of this segment as well. It's a comprehensive plan, no cost or no obligation, so make sure you do right now. We have a minute and get on Ben's calendar, 800-380-8985. Folks at Fuchs Financial are standing by. All right. Saving for retirement is a big job, and now that we're living longer, it means you have to save even more money. How can we manage our savings and stretch our dollars to make sure we don't run out of money? The number one fear of retirees, I hear this over and over again, is running out of money. Death is number two. So when death is number two, that's something. So anyway, so let's talk about the first thing. The first thing we want to talk about, those nasty fees. Fees, we hate those fees.
Hey, man, I charge them too. Let's not pretend.
No, okay. I didn't mean to hit them that much,
No, I personally, I like them. That's how I get paid. But I'll be fair with you all. But also, it is a
reasonable.
Fair way,
Okay,
reasonable.
let me revise that. Reasonable. I don't hate them.
Thank you, my man. All right,
you're welcome.
So, when it comes to fees, do you really know what you are paying? Here are some of the fees that you should be aware of when it comes to your portfolio. Let's break it down. So one, there's a thing called expense ratios. The average dollar value divided by the annual charge applied to all funds. So mutual funds, index, exchange traded funds, etc. What are you paying in the internal fees on the accounts that you have? Now, for a lot of people that tend to be higher net worth, we want to move them from mutual funds to individual stocks when it comes to market-based investments. Why? Great question, Gary. Thank you so much for asking.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Because, we have our own experts in-house that manage portfolios that are CFAs, which is it's a designation designed for portfolio management, that they run their own portfolios. So we don't want to pay additional fees on a lot of these accounts when we can avoid it. So in certain circumstances, for very specific people, we want to get away from the mutual funds, the index funds, the ETFs, because we can do individual stocks and we can do them quite well. Another is a mutual fund transaction fee. So some brokers charge to buy and sell mutual funds with a sales load. So a fund with a sales charge or commission. Typically, if you have a mutual fund and it has a big capital A after that mutual fund, A share mutual fund, it means that you are likely paying a big commission every time you buy that. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times people say, do you want to reinvest in this portfolio every time you get dividends? And you say yes, and then your advisor's happy because that means you continue to buy and you pay that commission every time. Right. So if it's a 5.75% commission, right, which is what we see often, then for every $100 that you put in, you start out with, $94.25 right off the bat. So you basically start lower. You typically don't want to do that. When you see those commercials on TV that say, we make money when you make money.
Oh, yeah, I know those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, let's be very clear. Most advisors are that way, right? It's fee-based advising. The account value goes up, they're charging 1.5%, they're still getting their 1.5%. The account goes down, they're still getting their 1.5%. They're not charging you, they're not taking away their fee, they're still charging you a fee. It's just less because the account value goes down. But what that means is that the advisors that operate that way are incentivized to make your money grow, which makes sense. Now, why should the advisor get paid if my money goes down? Great question. Thank you for asking. If you work for a company and that company loses money, should you still get your monthly paycheck? Well, yeah, you still did the work.
Of course, yeah.
Look, man, I still did the work. You're still in a position, and there's probably a very good reason why you own what you own. But it's a good conversation to have, and it's important to understand fees. And then which brings us to our next piece, which are management fees. So fees paid out to the fund's investment advisor for managing the fund's investment portfolio and other administrative fees not included in the quote other expenses. So there are lots of things that make up and can kind of, like I would call them, leeches that slowly take money away from your account. Something to be aware of.
Yeah, one thing though, Ben, because you're a fiduciary, it is by law have to have best interests of the clients. You're completely transparent, so people know exactly what fees they pay when they sit down and talk to you. There's no hiding these fees or putting them somewhere where people can't get them or understand them, right?
Right, absolutely not. No, we want to be very transparent and explain to you exactly what you're getting into. What I have found in my career is that the more, I would say, the surprises make people very uncomfortable.
Yep.
Even if it's a $25 fee. Yep. Where did that come from? Mm-hmm. You've got $2 million. You charge $25. No big deal. Yes, it's a big deal because you didn't tell me that I was being charged that money. Why am I being charged this fee? So it's our job to make sure that you pay as little in fees as possible, but make sure that the fees that you're paying are in fact appropriate.
Right. No question about it. The show is How to Retire with Ben Fuchs. I'm Gary Nolan, your consumer advocate. I want to thank you for joining us, spending part of your weekend with us. The How to Retire Blueprint. It's a comprehensive plan, no cost or no obligation. It's an absolute necessary thing to have as you're moving into retirement. 800-380-8985. 800-380-8985. All right, Ben? Moving on.
One more thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to these mutual funds. It's interesting. So recently, when I told everybody I went on vacation, I'd go on spring break. My family and I went to Florida. It was nice. Thank you for asking. But when I went to get my rental car, I signed up for a fee online. And there was a certain amount that I was to be charged. And then when I got to the counter, that fee changed because there were other things like, you have to buy insurance in Florida. But I have insurance. You have to buy insurance in Florida. Oh, well, that's added on. And then, you have this surcharge and that surcharge. So even though you were expecting to pay one number, the number that you actually paid was higher. Now, I can't say that I'm an expert in all things, and certainly when it comes to rental cars, I'm probably going to get a couple emails of telling me how I could have done it better. Thank you. I will welcome them, because anything would be better than what I did. But that's what happens. You go in, you don't do a ton of research ahead of time, you kind of go with whatever the best looking offer was at the time, and all of a sudden you're paying a lot more than you expected to.
Yeah, there's a classic scene from Seinfeld where he tries to get his car rental. Do you remember that scene?
No, tell me.
Yeah, it was a great scene where he ordered a specific car, and they said, well, we don't have that car. We have a smaller car. He goes, see? He goes, you know how to take a reservation, but you don't know how to hold a reservation, and that's really the most important thing. You got to Google that one. It's just hysterical. It's really funny, but that reminded me of that. All right, the show is How to Retire with Ben Fuchs. I'm Gary Nolan, your consumer advocate, with us each week at this time. Here's that phone number, 800-380-8985, 800-380-8985, the How to Retire Blueprint. All right, let's move on. Build a retirement plan now wherever you are in your retirement process. It never hurts to get an updated strategy in place.
Yeah, many people underestimate how much they should store away in order to live comfortably throughout retirement. You'll need to account for your everyday bills and increasing healthcare costs, but you'll also want to consider the amount that would offer you financial freedom to live the retirement of your dreams. So come up with a clear vision for how you want to retire, whether it's vacation around the world, play golf every day, or volunteer your days to a nonprofit. Factor in the cost of your dream life when creating your retirement plan. It's important for us to build in these extra costs to a solid retirement plan to make sure that you have this money available to you to do the things that you want to do. Most people will say, here is my spending, Ben, here's my budget. Okay, that's great, but did you factor in all the things that you want to be doing in retirement? Did you factor in the concept that you'll have way more free time and control over your schedule than before, and to do a lot of the things that you probably want to do? It might take, probably will, more than likely take a lot more money to do that. So we need to plan for that. It needs to be accounted for. But we want to make sure that that's in place for you.
Yeah, how about this? Managing your debt. We talk about debt, and it's a big problem, particularly if you get those high credit card debts, and maybe auto loans that are high, too.
Auto loans are starting to be higher and higher, and credit cards are painful. So it's hard to save when you have debt over your head. You start by listing all your debts in order of highest to lowest interest rate. You'll want to pay off typically the highest rate debt first, so your money goes to paying off the actual debt and not just the accrued interest. Once you've paid off your debts, you can allocate that money in your budget to your retirement account. If you spent $500 every month to pay off your debts, use that $500 for savings. This will bump your savings quickly without changing your lifestyle. When people come in because they have problems managing their debt, one of the things that we talk about is it's called a waterfall, right? Where I've got $200 to go into this card, $300 to go into that card, $400 to go into that card, and instead we kind of make minimum payments on all those other debts, and we focus on either the smallest debt, or we focus on that debt with a higher interest rate to pay that off first, and then the $200 a month that was going to that account will now go to the next highest debt. So we can waterfall that down. And what we found is that after completing that, after finishing that, they might have an extra $600, $800, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month that can now go to their retirement savings once their debt is taken care of. So one, we've significantly lowered their expenses, and two, we've been able to save a lot more for retirement as a result of that. But ultimately, we're here to tell you about the How to Retire Blueprint. Our blueprint is very straightforward. We want to make sure that you are taken care of in retirement. And, I've worked for a home builder, so I understand that, some home builders have 3 or 4 floor plans, and it's custom as long as you like one of those 3.
Yes.
You can have anything you want, right? What was that, Henry Ford?
I bought some of those homes, yes.
Yeah. The Henry Ford said you could have any color as long as it's black, right? That was the whole thing with the Model T.
Sure.
And that's not us. We need to fit your plan. You don't have to fit ours. We're here to help you accomplish whatever goal it is that you want to accomplish, and that's how we create your retirement blueprint. And we start by figuring out, when should you take Social Security? What do we have to deal with when it comes to required distributions? How do we create a monthly, consistent, predictable paycheck for you in retirement that doesn't necessarily have to be all in an annuity? And how do we make sure that your money lasts as long as you do? That all has to get put together along with an estate plan. Should you have a will? Should you have a trust? How do I minimize taxes? That all comes together in our How to Retire Blueprint. But we can't help you with any of that unless you actually pick up the phone and give us a call.
That's where it all starts. 800-380-8985. Get the How to Retire Blueprint. Just call in right now. Folks are standing by at Fuchs Financial. 800-380-8985. Get the How to Retire Blueprint. One more time on the number before we go to break. 800-380-8985. Back with more of How to Retire. And Ben, in just a moment, what do you want to do next?
All right, you've got questions and we've got answers. When we return, we're answering questions from you, the listeners. Don't go anywhere.
Do you ever feel like you're fighting for financial knowledge? Don't let bad advice be a punch in the gut to your retirement. Take advantage of a complimentary, no-cost, no-obligation consultation with a local, trusted financial coach.
Call Ben Fuchs and the team at Fuchs Financial, 800-380-8985. That's 800-380-8985.
Welcome back to the show. This is How to Retire with Ben Fuchs. I'm your consumer advocate, Gary Nolan. And Ben is back with us to help you take charge of your money. A little bit about Ben. Ben is a certified financial planner, certified private wealth advisor professional, and fiduciary with over 20 years experience. And each week on the show, we tell you how to get their How to Retire Blueprint. If you missed the end of the last segment, here's that phone number, 800-380-8985, 800-380-8985. Get on Ben's calendar. Get yourself all set up with that comprehensive plan, no cost or no obligation. All right, questions that came into us. Let's start with Saul in West Hartford. Is there a good rule of thumb for how much of my IRA should be invested in safe investments at age 60, or is it a matter of personal preference?
All right, so a couple things. One, I hate rules of thumb. The good news is that I that's my thing. I just don't like them. The bad news with that is that I can't just give you a canned answer. Now, the rule of thumb would say 40%. Why? Mm-hmm. Because they take 100 minus your age. That's how much you should have. So there are different rules there, but ultimately, that's why we have people come in for a How to Retire Blueprint. That's why we have you come in for just a free consultation. It doesn't have to be crazy. You can just come in and sit down with somebody and ask some questions. And then we'll have to ask you questions because we'll need to figure out what we need to do to make you comfortable in retirement. But a lot of that's going to determine a couple things. One, I think the biggest plan that we need to figure out is how much money do you need every month from your investments. You've got pension, maybe you've got Social Security, great. What do we need to fill in that gap? What do we need to pull from the money that you've actually saved? And once we figure that out, then we can figure out everything else, right? We figure out how much we need to put in that money in that monthly account. We need to figure out how we can continue to get raises on that monthly amount every year. And then we also need to figure out, all right, if that income stops, if something happens to that income stream, where do we go? That's where we have to pull from the safe money, and whatever that number is, it's going to be some multiple of how much you need. So we need to figure that out, but it's one step at a time. The first step for us would be to have you come in for an appointment. So that's the best way that we can help you answer that, but we can give you a very specific answer once you come in for an appointment.
Yeah, we love our questions. We thank our listeners for sending in questions, but a lot of times the case is we just don't have enough information to give some blanket answer or some answer that may not make sense, or it might make sense depending on your situation. That's why you need to come to see Ben. The number is 800-380-8985, 800-380-8985. Saul, get a hold of Ben and his team at Fuchs Financial. Get on the calendar, get you all set up with that comprehensive plan, and that's where everything starts, right there. All right, Randy Roxbury, I'm the guy who never opens his investment account statements because I'm too scared to look. That sounds familiar. And because I really don't know what I'm looking at anyway. How do you help a guy like me? Well, what can we tell you, Randy? What can we say?
Sorry, Randy, you're SOL, big guy. I don't really think that our job is to help you understand each individual piece. I think that you should have a good idea and kind of know what each thing means, but I don't need you have like a PhD level education on each fund that you have inside of your account. Some of that can kind of be paralyzing because you start to get into too much information and too much distraction. But we want you to have an idea of where you need to be. And so one of the things that I think is incredibly important is when people talk about basic goal setting in any facet in business and life and anything, you have to have a goal to get to. right? You have to create a goal. So one of the things that we want to be able to help you do is create that goal, whether it's a saving goal each month or a saving goal into your 401k or an amount that you need to have in your emergency fund. All these things are there for us to help basically answer the questions, or at least simplify it into what's actually important for you.
Ben will help you walk through that. And, these things are very confusing. And the way they're written sometimes it's like, is this English even? I don't even know what this is, right?
Well, look, man, if I go to a doctor and I'm looking at their report, I wouldn't have any clue what I'm looking at. You want to give me the names of ligaments? No, just tell me what's broken. Tell me what I need to do to make it better. You're going to do your part. I'm going to do my part. And I'm going to get healthy at the end of the day. That's all I need. Right. I don't need my mechanic to tell me about all the different, I don't know what engine parts are, pistons. I don't need that stuff. I just need my car to run.
Right.
You know what? I think for somebody like you, Randy, and I mean this with all the respect in the world, I think what you want to know is, hey, do I have enough money to do the things that I want to do? Yeah. And I think that's the question that we're going to be able to help you answer. And if you don't, we're going to let you know how you can get there.
Yeah. If your mechanic tells you it's the flux capacitor, I know that's not right.
That's good to know. I'll keep that
definitely not right. Okay. The show is How to Retire with Ben Fuchs. I'm Gary Nolan, your consumer advocate. Here's that number. Claim a spot on Ben's calendar. No cost or no obligation. 800-380-8985. But seriously, he will simplify this for you, make it easy, make it, no pain at all. Just really sit down with Ben for that first appointment and get yourself all set up with that comprehensive plan, the How to Retire blueprint. No cost, no obligation. Call right now. Folks are standing by. 800-380-8985. All right, Florence in Farmington. What do I do after opening a Roth IRA? Should I hire a financial advisor? Florence.
First of all, Florence, you have a wonderful name. That was my father's mother's name, my grandmother, of blessed memory. So thank you. But after opening the Roth IRA, I can't answer that because I don't know where you are. If you are just beginning to invest and you are in your 20s and 30s, you should be putting as much as you can comfortably put into that Roth IRA and doing it with what we would consider riskier investments. S&P 500, Russell 2000, QQQ, NASDAQ, technology, biotechnologies, things that are going to be riskier over time because you can handle that risk. You're not going to be pulling from that account for the next 20, 30 years. Now, in most cases for my retirees, I still want their Roth IRA to continue to be aggressively invested, as long as that isn't the majority of their money. If it's the majority of their money, then we have a different circumstance. But when it is not, we typically allocate what's in the Roth IRA to the growth portion. And why? Great question. This is the money I've already paid taxes on. I don't want to lose it. You're right. But this is also that part where if that money goes from $100,000 to $200,000 over the next 10 years, you haven't paid any taxes on that $200,000.
Right.
And the whole idea is to get as much growth as possible and not have to pay the taxes on it. So that's what we need to keep in mind as we utilize these Roth IRAs and use them correctly.
Mm-hmm. All right. Great advice for Florence. Florence, Randy, and Sol, thank you so much. Let's move on to Rosemarie in Monroe. I just found out my ex-husband is claiming half of my Social Security. I know this doesn't affect me directly per se, but can Social Security stay afloat with a policy like this? It's kind of an odd question from Rosemarie.
Thanks, Rosemarie. The answer is no.
No, it can't.
Social Security is not doing a great job of staying afloat. That's the problem. But it was meant as a spousal benefit. So theoretically, you could have been married to 3 different husbands, each for 10 years and a day, and each one of those ex-husbands could claim half of your Social Security. Right. Now, 1, thankfully, most people don't do this. 2, even if they do it, typically half of somebody's Social Security isn't always necessarily more than yours, right? More than their own Social Security. So there are reasons why it wouldn't make sense, because there is a cap on how much Social Security can ultimately get in any one year. So even if they made $2 million a year, they're not necessarily making more, or they're not making more in Social Security than the person that was making $200,000 a year, because they were both over that cap. So even though there's a wide income difference in terms of what they generate, what they receive from Social Security is the same, because they paid in the same amount. Right. So no, it can't stay afloat. No, I can't control that. I'm sorry. And no, I can't keep your ex-husband from claiming your Social Security. But, out of sight, out of mind, I'm assuming that's why you got a divorce. Moving on.
Yeah. Ben's going to send somebody over to his house, a little conversation with him, you know.
I know a guy. Yeah, no,
I know. Yeah, we all know a guy. The problem is we're living too long. That's really the problem. I forget the movie. There was a movie where everybody had to die at age 30 or something like that, and the government went after them. Remember that? I don't know what it was. I can't remember.
I can tell you that I didn't see that movie, but I do know that I'd be dead. So I'm glad that that's not part of the deal.
We're glad that's not true. All right, let's see. I'll squeeze in one more. What do you say? Edward in Essex. I will turn 70 in mid this year, 2024. I plan to collect Social Security. As I'm still working, self-employed, will my income impact the calculation of my benefits? Quick answer.
The answer is yes. Yeah. So it's not a negative thing. Ultimately, you can't get any more money by waiting from Social Security. So it definitely makes sense for you to obviously take it at 70. But yes, your income will reduce the amount of actual Social Security you'll receive because it will cause it to be taxed higher. Now, that will change when you retire. That income calculation will change. So just because you're getting taxed more now, this year, doesn't mean you'll get taxed more next year. All those things can change and alter. But look, ultimately, that's why we're here. You know, we're here to give you a how to retire blueprint. The blueprint is to help you figure out a plan for your retirement. And that blueprint is going to be different for every single person that we sit in front of, because no two people are the same. I can't tell you how many people that I've sat down with or my advisors have sat down with and they said, listen up, my plan is unique. Okay, no problem. Tell me about it. And then we go through and then we figure it out. And ultimately, the goals for us kind of break down relatively simply. You know, what do we need to generate? What is the impact on your taxes? And we've had a lot of unique scenarios where people have gotten lawsuits and payouts and government money and government benefits and workers' comp, all different things that we've had to deal with, I would say, to work into a plan. But it can all be worked into a plan. We just need to have the right pieces to make that puzzle fit together. So if you feel like you might need a second opinion on what you have, if you've been working with an advisor for 10, 20 years, nothing against them, but you're not sure if what they're doing is right for you, great, give us a call. It's a free consultation. If you want to figure out how to minimize your taxes in retirement, give us a call. If you want to figure out how to generate monthly income for yourself and make that consistent, great, give us a call. If you don't even know where to start, give us a call. But the only way that we can help you, when our offices are in West Hartford and Middletown and Middlebury, the only way that we can help you is if you pick up the phone to give us a call.
Yeah. Why not? Nothing to lose, right? Everything to gain. No cost, no obligation. It all starts by picking up the phone and punching those numbers in. 800-380-8985. Ben just gave you some wonderful reasons why you should call and get on his calendar. Claim your spot. Your chance to benefit from the How to Retire Blueprint. Call right now. We still have a limited number of availabilities on our calendar this week. And remember, the consultation is offered at no cost, no obligation. 800-380-8985. Well, the show has flown right on by. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Hope you found the information we presented helpful. Look forward to all of you being back next week. We'll have new topics and new questions right here on How to Retire with Ben Fuchs. Ben, as always, a pleasure. I enjoyed it. Looking forward to talking to you again next week.
Pleasure's all mine, Gary. Thank you so much.
Investment advisory services are offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, hereafter known as Foundations, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The content provided is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the individual speakers and not necessarily those of Foundations and its affiliates. The information contained herein does not constitute an offer to sell any securities or represent an express or implied opinion or endorsement of any specific investment, opportunity, offering, or issuer. Any discussion of performance or returns is not indicative of future results. Any discussions of specific strategies are for informational purposes only and have been provided to help determine whether they may be appropriate for your specific situation. If applicable, the primary goal in converting retirement assets into a Roth IRA is to reduce the future tax liability on the distributions you take in retirement or on the distributions of your beneficiaries. Each individual investor situation is different, and ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Foundations only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded or exempted from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. Nothing herein constitutes a recommendation that any security, portfolio of securities, or investment strategy is suitable for any person. No legal or tax advice is provided. Please review your retirement, tax, and legacy planning strategies with a legal or tax professional before transacting or implementing any strategy discussed herein. Any comments regarding safe and secure investments and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to investment advisory products. Rates and guarantees provided by insurance products and annuities are subject to the financial strength of the issuing insurance company, not guaranteed by any bank or the FDIC. This is not endorsed or affiliated with the Social Social Security Administration, any federal Medicare program, or any U.S. government agency. If applicable, we do not offer every plan available in your area. Any information we provide is limited to those plans we do offer in your area. Please contact Medicare.gov or 1-800-MEDICARE to get information on all of your options. All rights reserved.